All right. Oops, got to switch the view. Sorry, friends. Here we go. Okay. Hey, friends. Welcome to Pink Power Monday Night Call. Super excited to talk with you guys tonight. My name is Chris Rosencrans. If you don't know who I am, I've been around for almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years the end of January, which is just mind blowing when I think about it. But yet it's not, because I also taught for 18 years. So I guess you kind of think like, I do have some longevity in my jobs that I've been in. And I just love Plexus so much. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity, what it's done for me and my family, our health and our financial freedom that we've gained through this, and time freedom, which I'm just going to tell you guys is a real thing. And I'm just going to quick say, my husband works from home doing odd jobs out of our barn in the backyard. And he just out of the blue told me on Friday when we had a lunch date that he found a trade deal with a friend and he was leaving for Michigan this morning. And I was like, oh, isn't that fun? But he can do that. It's just, sometimes I'm just blown away by that. You guys, is what this is all about. Like, I wish I could talk more about my story, but it's a huge blessing because he worked 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 5 to 6 days a week for 25 years. And so some of that was night shift actually. And he worked 4 p.m. to sometimes 6 a.m. for many years. He did that. So you guys, it's a gift. It's a gift. So Kevin's very handy. He can fix and do about anything. And so he does, he's kind of gone on his own. He fixes semi trucks or anything. Like there's a skid loader back there that needs to be fixed and a trailer. He's rebuilt things. He's super talented. And he loves odd jobs. He loves doing a little bit of everything. And it's just kind of a dream come true for him too. And if you've seen my posts about the canning and gardening, that's all Kevin. I don't do any of that. So he gets to fulfill that love. And, it's just really awesome. So he is just about to his mom's in Michigan and is going to be there just till Wednesday and coming home Thursday. But he can do that. And it's such a gift. And he doesn't have to ask off. So that's what this is. That's what this opportunity means, you guys. So, just really, really feel blessed to be able to share that with you. I'm going to quick pop this up here and get rid of Facebook because it's just going to keep on dinging. All right. So with that being said, you guys, I want to spend some time talking about something that we don't always like to talk about. Well, maybe some of us do. Some of us like to talk about our emotions. I'm a talker, so that kind of thing doesn't bother me. I kind of thrive on it. I love to listen to people's stories, and sometimes emotions come out, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with emotions. But sometimes this can be a hard topic to discuss because we're all human and we all have feelings and emotions about different situations that we're in. And we can sometimes take our emotions pretty seriously. They can be very high and they can be very low and all over the place sometimes. So, I can sometimes be an emotional person too, but I've also been through some things in life, like many of you all have too, where I've had to make a choice about what kind of emotions I was going to allow to happen and allow myself to feel. And that's really what we need to realize, is that having emotional maturity means that we're able to manage our emotions no matter what the circumstances are. For some of you, this is going to sound familiar because you maybe went to Ruby Retreat last year where Christina and Brittany went over these things and these points that I'm going to be giving you, and we absolutely loved it. There's a lot of things that have been popping up lately, just talking through different things with my team and just reading different things that I've been reading, podcasts I've been listening to, and I just have been feeling really called to talk about this. And so I did go back to those Ruby Retreat videos that were recorded, and it's just so good. But it's things that are sometimes obvious, but we need to hear them again, and we need to have these things brought up. Like I literally watch them, but I'm going to watch them again. I need to have these things reminded to me too often. So I hope that this is something that we can have in our team page, because it's going to be in one spot. But I just really wanted to go over these with all of us because it's really important. What we do here in this biz is we're working with people. All right. And many of them are our peers, but also many strangers from all different stages and situations in life. And when you're working with people, that can sometimes mean that there will be times that our emotions will be high and sometimes they'll be really low. But we will always have a choice in how we react and move forward through those situations and feelings. You're probably going to hear this list and start thinking of other people in your life, family members, friends, coworkers, your team, whatever. But what you really need to be doing is taking a look at yourself and figuring out where you are at with these things. If you have even one customer, you're leading someone, and your journey with Plexus has begun. And so has your journey to grow in your leadership. Leadership requires strong emotional maturity. Think about what kind of leader do you want to work with? Or even better, what kind of leader do you want to be? Someone who has control of their emotions or someone who doesn't? Someone who can hold up under pressure or someone who panics and retreats or gives up? There is always going to be challenges. They will come, not just in your business, but in life. And with those challenges, there will be plenty of failures, but failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Success comes only after there's failure. How well do you or will you handle things when life and your business isn't going your way? This is why it's so important to know where you stand with your emotional maturity. Well, some of this can be hard to hear, and maybe not. Maybe it won't be hard to hear. It's so important to reflect and know that you can grow through the areas that need work. And really, we all need work and continual growth because none of us are perfect. So here's the list. And some of this stuff you're going to find probably going to be repeating some things here because they really do all mix together. All right. So number one, they're not really necessarily in an order either, but like I said, they're going to be tied together. Showing emotional maturity means that you take ownership of what's going on around you and in your business. You're aware that you have personal responsibility for what you do. It means you don't become a victim if things are not going your way. You don't place blame on others if you don't reach your goals. If you're saying or find yourself saying, I can't blank because someone can't or won't or doesn't or isn't blank, then you're showing a victim mentality. You are responsible for you and your actions in your business. And while, yes, we do need a team to do this business with us, we still need to be focusing on what we're doing rather than if everyone else around us is doing their jobs. And am I doing what I need to do to succeed? If you are, then you're being personally responsible. You're taking ownership and you're able to lead a team to do the same. You'll be the one showing the example. You'll also be able to recognize if people are not doing what they should be to meet their personal goals, and you can help them through that. If you do have these thoughts, like that your team should be doing blank, then they may sense that. They may feel that vibe coming from you when you're coaching them or whatever. You're going to probably send off some irritation vibes and some like urgency and panic because you feel like they're not doing their jobs and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That is going to make things hard for them. They're going to feel disconnected from you. They might feel pushed or even manipulated. So be sure that you're always looking inward. What am I doing to improve and get things done? Taking personal responsibility and ownership of your business shows emotional maturity. Number two, being emotionally mature means that you have the humility to admit when you make a mistake. Again, you're taking ownership. Ways to do this is to be approachable. Accept critical feedback without getting on an emotional roller coaster and taking things too personally. I hate to tell you, but you're not always going to do things right. I know I don't. And we need to be open to correction, just like some of us expect our kids, if we have kids, to be open to correction. If you struggle with this, you can grow through it, but you're going to have to make work of that. You're going to need to read some personal growth books. We've got a lot of good ones, and a lot of our books do talk about things like this, like owning your mistakes and taking personal responsibility. You're going to need to maybe be willing to ask your family and friends if they see things in you that maybe you need to do better at, things that you need to improve on. Do some self reflection. Try adding value to people. Really think about being intentional about just loving on other people. And just realize that everyone is going to make mistakes. No one does everything right all the time. And we're not Jesus. And he really is the only one that's perfect. So we need to be humble and we need to be approachable and willing to learn, and also give grace to those who are trying to help us grow, and give grace to yourself to make mistakes and to grow from them. Number 3, if you're emotionally mature, you're willing to be vulnerable about your struggles. If you make it look like you never do anything wrong and have it all together all the time, it can make you unapproachable or unrelatable. But this is a big but. On the flip side, you also need to remember that your downline or your upline doesn't need to know all of your problems all the time. And I'll talk about more about that in a little bit. Being vulnerable shows that you don't always have it all together. And also shows humility too. But in that vulnerability, be sure you're willing to ask questions and look for solutions. So if there are things going on, that you're not staying in those things. It again shows personal responsibility. So like if a team member would, comes to you if you're doing a call, or if, your downline tells you that they're struggling with comparison, then I'm pretty sure everybody here has struggled with comparison in one way or another. Don't pretend like you've never had that before. Make sure that you talk to them about that and that you know and understand how they feel. Don't make it sound like, oh, I've never had that, or that they shouldn't be feeling that way. It's pretty normal to feel that way, but then also help them how to overcome it. Okay. Number 4, being emotionally mature means you know how to have healthy boundaries. You time block so that your team knows when you're available and when you're not. And so that you leave room and space for your family too. You know how to say no when needed. For example, if you're treating this like a business and you have big goals, then you should be thinking of this like a 9-to-5 job. It may not fit into those 9 to 5 hours. Like if you were like me, when I first started, I was teaching, and I didn't work this like a 9 to 5. It was worked. The hours were probably pretty similar for a time when we were crazy busy. But I still worked my job when I needed to, my teaching job. And then I fit Plexus in those places where I needed to fit it. But you also need to know that if you were asked to do something, but it's not something that fits into your schedule and is going to help you reach your goals, that you feel free to say no to those things. I used to totally be a yes girl. I would say yes to lots of things and I wouldn't really think it through. And then before you knew it, I would be overwhelmed because I had so many different things going on. And sometimes I felt like I was obligated to do those things. Maybe they didn't have any other options or whatever, but I never stopped to really think, okay, does this fit into the lifestyle that I want? Am I allowing room for other really important things that are going on in my life? And now I've become more of a no girl, actually, so much so that the secretary at our small school flat out says she stops calling me because I say no too much. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but what I have done is I've stopped when somebody asks me to do something. I don't give a yes or a no right away. I just tell them that I need to look at my schedule. I need to check with my family, and then I'll get back to them. And if I do that, within a couple hours and it's a decision I can make right away, or, or if it's time sensitive, or is something that I can have about 24 hours to think about first, then I'll take that. But for example, I was just asked this weekend if I'd be willing to coach my son's 5th, 6th grade basketball team again in like kind of a winter league. That would be in town. I don't think we'd have to travel much. I did that last year. But you know what, you guys, I found that does not bring me a ton of joy anymore. It actually adds some stress to my life. I used to be a freshman girls basketball coach the first 5 years of my teaching career, and I loved it. But you know what? I really enjoy like helping in other ways. I'd rather go to an open gym and work with kids in their shooting form and practice, layups with kids or show them how to play defense better or whatever. I'd rather be kind of an assistant and work on the side than be in charge. And I honestly don't have time for that because I have a big team that I really want to be present for, And so, so I said no, and it's okay, So, and I at first I had like butterflies. What do I do? What do I say? But I am really at peace with it. And I had to think about it, and I had to really stop. And after I got the text, I had to stop and think, okay, how did last year go? So just really think about that. And it's really important to have time boundaries, good personal boundaries, and time is really important. Okay. You need to have healthy boundaries around your relationships. You can't allow people to disrespect you or speak disrespectfully to you. You have the power and the right to say these things to someone because it's either you setting a boundary for them or they will set it for you. You get to choose. And you know what? That's something I taught my kids at school, you guys. And sometimes us as adults, we forget that. And kids at school have to be taught it too. But I know if kids at school had another peer say something mean to them, you know what I taught them to say? Hey, that was really mean. I didn't like how that made me feel. You know what? That's a boundary that we need to be able to have on ourselves too. And sometimes people don't always say very nice things to us in our business and life. We need to make sure that we are brave enough to put those boundaries up and feel that we have the right to do that. People with healthy boundaries know their needs and they communicate those well to people. Also, another time boundary I want to talk about here is remember that your time is valuable. And so so is that of your upline and sidelines. So be sure to spend your time doing things that are going to grow your business and teach your team to do the same. Take ownership to grow and learn on your own. And I guess when I think about that, I think it's one of those things where, if you can look, we talk about like check 3 and then ask me. That's a little phrase that has popped up in different team calls. Like if you have a question about something, try to look it up, look in a few different places. And if you can't find the answer to it, then go to your upline and see if you can get some help. But the more you can be self-sufficient with your time and do things yourself, it's going to help you because you're going to find out as your team grows. Yeah, when you have 10 people or so or less, or even, 10, 15 people, customers, or if you have a one team builder or whatever, it's going to grow. If you're doing this and you're here for the long haul, which I'm assuming you all are, then as your team grows, you're going to want to time manage. And it's really hard if everybody's coming at you with the same questions all the time. You want to teach your team how to be self-sufficient with their learning. And so you need to do that and start practicing that and then teach them to do the same. So that's a way to have healthy boundaries and to be mature in that, in your emotions with that. Because if you don't have healthy boundaries, your emotions can run amok pretty quickly. Number 5, emotional maturity means that you have empathy. Empathy is being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, being genuinely happy for someone if they rank up and you don't, or if they won the prize and you didn't. If your feelings turn to jealousy, then that's simply pride, and you really need to be checking yourself for that. If you're empathetic, you want to add value to people because you truly love others and you want to make this world a better place. So it's really important to have empathy, and that will show that you have emotional maturity if you do. Number 6, being able to give someone else credit shows emotional maturity. Not taking all the glory for yourself if there really was someone else who played a role. Yes, we need to be proud of our accomplishments. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But behind our success is always a team of people that we either learned from or helped us in our growth. So be sure to give those people credit too. Number 7, being emotionally mature means that you have a positive attitude. This is a biggie, guys. I'm going to spend a little time on this one. I feel pretty passionate about this one. No one wants to be around a negative Nelly. So be a positive Polly instead. Misery loves company. I think we've all heard that phrase many times in our lives. It's so easy to go down that road, and you'll take everyone there with you until everyone is complaining together. How many of us have been in that situation before? People want to follow the positive Polly's. Many times the negative people don't even know that they're being negative until someone tells them. And then sometimes even after that, they might still think they're not negative. If you have to put a disclaimer before you say something like, I don't mean to be negative, but then you're being negative and quite possibly becoming or already are a negative person. You shouldn't have to do that. Remember that saying, if you can't say anything nice and don't say anything at all, yeah, just do that. Okay. But really, I know that's hard to do sometimes, but really we do need to think about how we talk and really reflect on it. I know we can all go down that road, but it's a slippery slope and it can be hard to come back from, and it tends to affect everyone around you. An example that I have recently, and I'm sure we all could share so many, but my daughter Addie said that they had a little meeting in their class because there was just some negativity going around with the girls. And you guys, my kid's school is super small. So Addie is in a class of 12 kids, and I might be 6 girls, something like that. So yeah, like things can happen very quickly. And seriously, she was just sharing about this. There's a young lady who tends to be very negative, and I have seen that for myself in my own eyes. And Addie found, she said to me just on her own, she said, Mom, she said that she was hanging out with this, spending a little bit more time with her, and she noticed that she was starting to do the same thing. And not that she could stop hanging around with her, because there's not very many of them, but she just became really mindful that she was getting sucked into that negative talk, and she stopped it. So if my 15-year-old can can get a handle on that, then I'm sure we can all do that too. But I also remember, and it's somebody who I went to high school with, was so positive. Maybe you thought I was gonna say so negative, but such a positive person. If you were ever around her in a group and somebody said something negative about somebody else that wasn't there, so they're talking about someone behind their back, this particular girl would always be like, oh, I didn't think that about her. Or, oh, I think that's a really nice person, or whatever. She would literally flip it every single time. And it was enough that I obviously noticed. And this was high school, you guys. It has stuck with me all these years. So, and I'm way beyond high school. So you guys, people notice that stuff, so be that person that flips it. All right. Positive attitudes are able to cope with change. Change is inevitable. Oh my goodness, is it? Lots has changed with Plexus since many of us have started. And we talk about it all the time. And many of you who are new might be like, so what? But I'm telling you what, some of the things that have changed are big changes. Some are good, some took some adjusting. Leaders have to adapt. If you refuse to adapt, you will get stuck. Staying positive about the changes is key, and especially in front of your team. What you say and how you react to what your team will, to what your, okay, I didn't write that right. What you say and how you react is, what your team will catch on to and repeat. So stay positive. It's that more is caught than taught type of thing. All right. So it does catch on very, very quickly. And you guys, we can always go back to, and this is something to be noted, do not brush this aside. I joined after the back office Armageddon that you might hear mentioned every once in a while. And this was back in 2016, literally right before I joined in January 2016. So 2015, our back office got switched over, and there was like major ordering and shipping nightmares going on, right? Jamie, Sal, Sue, who else was around? Fallon, Tiffany. And so I don't know who else was around then, but it was really bad. So I hear. But guess what, you guys? When I joined, that's when like Tiffany and Fallon, like our leg, Fallon like started skyrocketing to Emerald. I don't know, remember when you hit Emerald, Fallon, but okay, Rochelle, you were here too. But like seriously, flew through it. And you know why? Is because Fallon did not talk about it. Nobody talked about it. They just called customer service, spent a lot of time on the phone, and they got people their orders, and they didn't make it a big deal. And our team skyrocketed. All right. And I showed up after the fact. And so you guys, that says so much. That right there is a perfect example. If you don't talk about it, if you just work through it, work out the kinks, don't complain, that's coming. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but you just work through it. It's not going to matter. Think about what happened in 2020. We had all these things happening, shutdowns, all this stuff. You guys, our business boomed at that time. If you've been here to see it, that's when I hit diamond, so how do you hit diamond in the middle of a pandemic where people are all freaked out, so you guys, it's your attitude. All right. Let me see here. Emotionally mature people express gratitude rather than complain, right? Positive attitudes have way more good days than bad days. Everyone has bad days. If someone asks you how your day is and your response is a long list of things that have gone wrong, then you are probably a negative person. I understand that there are safe places and times that we may need to get these things out because yes, we can truly have bad days. I am not naive to that, and that's okay. And it's good. I'm thankful for my safe places, 100%. But if it's your response every time to everybody, then no, that's not good. You can choose to flip that script and find the things that you are grateful for because there is always something to be grateful for. And really think about how that affects the other areas of your life. How we act and respond to things is definitely caught by those we spend the most time with. They're going to hear about your complaints and will probably start complaining right along with you, driving you further into the pit of despair where no one needs to be. Stay positive as much as you can. Have a safe space to share the hard stuff, yes, but practice gratitude and the hard stuff won't seem so hard. Plus, if you're taking ownership and practicing these other things, you're going to find solutions and you're not going to stay there wallowing in that puddle because you're going to have solutions. Complaining and negativity and wallowing in the puddle also means you could be having a victim mindset, which means that you feel like you're a victim to your circumstances. But I'm here to tell you that you are not. You do have a choice. Gratitude there's always something to be grateful for. All right. Positive people don't get carried away in worrying about what others are thinking or doing. They focus on their own actions, take ownership, and move forward. They trust that what they're doing is in the Lord's hands and He's guiding the way. There's always going to be negative people that come to us, you guys, always. We all have our stories, but how you react to it shows your emotional maturity. You have to think about where those people are coming from. And you always hear this saying, hurt people, right? So don't forget that, if you have somebody negative coming down on you, or criticizing you or whatever, and remember, and this is separate from conflict or, that type of thing, which I'm going to talk about next. But it's really important to not fly off the handle and get upset and think the world is crashing down. You need to know that when people say things that are negative to you, that it's more on them, and you need to think about what's going on in their life and where that's maybe coming from, and if there's even any truth behind it, and so it's just really important to make sure that you are just staying focused on what you're doing. Am I making the right choices? Am I doing good things? Am I doing the next right thing? And then everything else will fall into place. Okay. Number 8, if you're emotionally mature, you can handle conflict well. All right. So we're not always going to see eye to eye with everyone, right? It's just the way it is. But it's still important to be willing to talk things out and work through what you disagree about. You need an open communication. You need open communication if you're going to do that, and the willingness to listen and learn. Okay. You're not going to be able to fix things or talk through things. And I feel like it's even more so that way. And I actually just had this conversation with my girls after school today about something I feel like I'm telling you, this has been popping up in our life lately, just even at home. And it's been really good to go through these things and talk my kids through some of this stuff too. If you're emotionally mature, then you're approachable, you're respectful, and you're open to feedback, and you're loving and kind. If you're not emotionally mature, you'll respond with angry, hurtful words. You're going to get upset and, I don't know, emotions will be kind of flying all over the place. And you may tend to gossip instead of communicating with the person you need to resolve the conflict with. This can cause drama on a whole other level and is definitely something that we would need to leave for another call. So I'm not going to dive into that. Solving conflict is best done by following the model in Matthew 18, verse 15, where Jesus says that if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you've gained your brother. Only after you go to them first, and if the problem is not resolved, is when you involve others who you trust will help. Go directly to the source, stay away from gossip. This definitely shows emotional maturity. And number 9, and my final point, I'm just going to state here, Galatians 5, verse 22 through 23 says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Practice these things on a daily basis, and you will very much achieve emotional maturity. Will it be perfect all the time? No. But that's why we have the grace of God and we give grace to each other. We're all learning and growing together how to become mature in our emotions and reactions to what's going on around us. And we always have something to learn. So thanks you guys for jumping on. Appreciate you guys listening and following along. And there's a lot of other things I'm sure that popped up in your minds that we could throw into this as well. But these are some of the finer points of having some emotional maturity and how to grow in that. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I hope you guys have a great night. See ya.